Hey, Heifers, and welcome to Angus IT, the podcast all about anxiety, depression, and when you have that, feeling like you're not maybe doing enough compared to the other people around you who might not be going through a similar thing. And so you're looking at your accomplishments and you're like, well, that's stupid. I was really depressed last week, so I didn't get half the shit done I wanted to. And other people who weren't depressed got the regular amount of shit they got to do. So you know what? I'm going to work harder to hit it because that's what everyone wants me to do, right? That's what all the inspirational posters in my dentist's office say. They're like, go push harder. You got to work harder for it. And that's okay. It's the grit. It's your inspirational story. And then you do that and you're like, no, I got to go harder and prove everyone wrong. And then at some point you have taken on so much and then you're still mentally ill. And then you're like, oh no, what have I done? You're at like the bottom of the bottom of the haystack because you sat down in a farm and they threw hay on you and you're like, oh no. And then there's a camel going around complaining about how it's going to possibly break its back at any second. You're like, I don't give a shit. I'm at the bottom of this haystack. I don't care about the camel, the hay that broke the camel's. So yeah, anyway, moving on from that intro. Hi. So as always, this was inspired by events in my own life. Wow. And I apparently do this thing where I try to quote unquote make up for the things that I'm lacking in, quote unquote, due to my mental health disorder. And therefore, I want to try to take it all on and I want to be the best there ever was. I want to be a little Pokemon trainer, except I have all the legendary Pokemon and everyone can fuck off, not in necessarily that order, but mostly I've realized that yet again, another trait that I thought was good, and not that it isn't good. This is a good thing to have. It's just too much of any good thing can become toxic. Okay. We've all had that moment with the ice cream pints, the gallons, and you're watching the things and you got a spoon. And it's just there. And you realize, way too late how much you've had. And you look down and you go, ooh, that's going to hurt here just in a moment. That's kind of what this was. So I think I mentioned in the last episode that lately, my little flavor depression thought of the month that I pulled out of a fortune cookie that I bake with my own brain. Cool. Moving on. I mostly do this thing where I feel like it's unfair that I have bipolar disorder, which, fair. And then I got mad. I got really mad. It hits me in waves sometimes where I just like look at the situation in a certain light where I just perceive my life as plagued by bipolar. I go through the whole list of things I'm missing out on or I didn't do because of my mental health disorder and how it manifested and how it has guided every decision of my life and how have I had my own free will or am I just at the mercy of this mental health disorder? All those fun thoughts just kind of swirling around. It's not true. I mean, and to be fair, I would like to say we should always examine the facts, right? There are things that I have not done because of my mental health disorder, but that's also the same energy as like anybody else being like, I don't really enjoy snakes, so I'm not going to go to the serpentarium. Maybe not exactly like that. But what I'm saying is like, everybody has something in their life that will sort of guide the decisions they make. And they're not always things that we chose. Everybody has this. It can be your economic situation. It can be people in your life. You might have people in your life who don't want to do certain things and you don't feel strongly about doing the thing and you care about them and you'd rather have fun for both of you, so you don't do it. That's a great example of you technically didn't say yes to it. You chose something else because there was something in your life guiding it, but that's not a bad thing. Like not every decision you make they had to make because something else was like, oh, well, if I do that, I could, but like, there's this thing. That's not a bad thing. So very big generalization to say that every decision I have made for the sake of my mental health, was thrust upon me. I had no choice. It was an evil outcome, and I was left out of an amazing experience I'll never get to have again. It doesn't really work that way. It's easy when you have more time, I feel like. The older I've gotten, the more examples I have to pull from. And I think, I was talking about it gets better. This is what that means mostly, is like the more experience you get to have with this, each new panic attack you have, each new depressive swing you have, it gets easier to compare them and to realize the patterns. And so, I've had a couple of years of this now. And so I can look back now and I'm like, oh, I used to really beat up myself because I didn't say yes and yes to this. But honestly, if I had, I would have been so miserable, and I probably would have made everyone around me miserable. And then I probably would have cringed thinking about it for the next 10 years of my life. So not every decision you make has to be viewed in this light of bipolar took that away from me, anxiety took that away from me, depression took that away from me. Again, we're going to acknowledge, there's some shit that I don't get to do now because I'm bipolar, and I don't want to go off the deep end and be completely miserable, and it sucks. It's like, if you're lactose intolerant and you don't get to have your cheese anymore, okay, right? Cheese becomes poison to you, but you might still have the love of the cheese. People around you are eating the cheese, and you're like, I want the cheese, but also physically, and then emotionally afterwards, I don't really want it. I want the idea of cheese. And I just had cheese, and that's why I'm thinking of cheese, and I am always thinking of cheese. Thankfully, so far, I'm not lactose intolerant. But I imagine that would be some of the feelings that would come from that. It is hard. It's a loss in a sense. And I don't think there's any use in ruminating. Why do I not ruminating? Whoa, girl. It's a big word. Okay. I don't think there's any sense in ruminating on things like that, because it's a thought that could be a fact, but it is worded in such an emotional way that you can't separate the two. If that makes sense. Bipolar didn't take it away, but I chose to not do it because of my bipolar. Something might have flared up and I wouldn't have been happy. And so to maintain some semblance of stable, or at least less miserable, I haven't done everything. And I think we get so twitchy sometimes about having to say no to things because we are geared to show off our adventures. If we're going the superficial route, there's the route where we love adventures. We want to do it. And so it sucks to have to say no to one, especially when you think it's something that's not, it shouldn't feel like it has as big of an impact as it does. I sometimes forget I have bipolar, which is hilarious. But sometimes I do. And then something will come up and I'll be like, no, I can't do that because I know how my brain works and I know how my body reacts. And that's going to have to be something I set out on. And that can be really hard and annoying, especially when you feel confident. You get confident, you feel good in your skin. You're like, your brain's on point. And then you're just kind of reminded this is a thing that stops you from doing things. So again, I don't really think that's a helpful thought to hold on to because again, me saying that is already kind of dripping with an opinion. So the fact is that I technically could do anything. I just don't want to do it all because I know that I'll be happier as a person not doing it. And so at the end of the day, it's I could have done it, but if I would have been miserable, then I clearly wouldn't have enjoyed it. So it's okay. Maybe that adventure isn't for me. And maybe I don't like those adventures. There's so many different things we can do in this life that I feel like I'm just starting to decide, if that door is closed, there are so many different weird things like knitting. The weirdest thing I could think of was knitting. But, scuba diving, which I would never do. But, so many different activities and places to travel and people to meet and clubs and foods to try. There are so many different facets of life that I feel like it's annoying to have some of these doors closed. It's heartbreaking, but there are other exciting things out there. Now, that was easily said. Me, do I follow this advice, guys? No, I had a slump there and I just was like, bipolar disorder has ruined everything in my life. I will never be the really cool, accomplished girl who's like done everything and who has like no fears. And she's just like really cool because she's just like, yeah, let's go ahead and get in the car and just fly anywhere because I don't need to worry about making sure I have enough medications on me. I can just like at the drop of a hat take a worldwide national flight and be wherever I want to be. I'm not stressed about that. You're stressed about it. I don't get to be her. It kind of sucks. To be fair though, she kind of sounds like a bitch. Kind of annoying. So maybe that worked out. But it's, the idea I have of myself, this person I was trying to become. There's always a person in my head, at least for the longest time when I was growing up, where I was like, I want to be this version of an adult I've created at some point in my life. And it felt so far away for a very long time. And then things were starting to click into place. And then I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I actually have the power to try to make this happen. And I've gotten very close. And obviously it has shifted since middle school, the version of an adult I want to be. I don't want to own everything from Abercrombie and Fitch. So, progress. But when you dream big, you don't think of the things that might hold you back, which I also don't like that because here's a great example. I have a dog. Her name is Fern. And I love this dog. I love traveling. However, I would love to live abroad again for a handful of months, but I don't really have the means, nor do I really want to leave my dog for months on hand. That's just something I don't personally want to do. Therefore, I am not going to try to live abroad. And we could look at that situation and be like, my dog is holding me back. I don't get to do this because I have a dog. Is there. And the fact lies within it that I made the decision based on having a dog, but that's not necessarily the case. And again, that could be a fun adventure, but I'm also still going to have a great time and hang out with my dog. It's okay if that, because I think for a while, and it's not like I have never, ever regretted getting a dog. I've never regretted having Fern. That has never crossed my mind, to be clear. I did have this moment there where I got a little mopey and I was like, am I missing out on so many things? Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I going to do? And, do I have to wait for everything to fall into place before I ever get to try anything? And then the older I get, the harder it's going to be to try these new things. And am I just ripping the Band-Aid off too many times in the sake of trying to have a clean slate and start over? And what's going on? And I was like, no, fuck that. I just want to hang out with my dog. And I can visit abroad and I want to live abroad again because I really enjoyed it when I did it before in the structure of college. And I think I would still have it fun with it as an adult, but it's not you come to realize, guys, there are cool new things you learn every place you go, but a city is a city. That really hit me. I've traveled enough now that every big city kind of has the same template. You get different people. I still love traveling. I still love going to all these places, but it's not like I'm missing out on anything so earth-shattering, I guess, at the end of the day, which is hard to say because, your girl's got wanderlust. She could technically have 10 cross-stitch pillows that say not all who wander are lost. Levels of wanderlust. I don't. But, so these are things that I have to go through and I look at the equation of I didn't do it because of this, but is it really that that's holding me back? Or it's just I'm choosing a happier version of myself that they can then fully throw myself into a different activity? I no longer hang out with people who pressure me into being or who make me feel like shit if I can't do something. I've gotten those people out of my life. No one should ever make you feel bad because you are not able or do not want to do something for the sake of your well-being. Who the fuck are they? Sorry, I don't want to go to the rave because I know that that's just a big no-no for all of me. And maybe sometimes I'm ready to go to the rave, but Denise, I'm not today. I've never known a Denise. All Denises are safe for now. Circling back then to feeling this gap, this oversight, this thing you're lacking. What I did, I felt that. And then I think unknowingly, completely unknowingly actually, I started taking on more and more. And it was always with this intent of proving myself. And you think about what does proving yourself mean? Proving yourself usually means you're proving it to someone else. Even if you're proving it to yourself, Usually there's still someone else, though, you want to take pride in what you've done in. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's completely healthy. As long as it doesn't like take over your life, you know? I, as it turns out, and upon much reflection, was trying to prove it to like my disorder or to like everyone else that not only do I have bipolar disorder, I'm not just going to get by. I'm going to exceed and I'm going to go above and beyond. And I'm going to work so hard that for the 3 weeks I was depressed, it's going to be like I wasn't depressed at all. I'm going to still have maintained the same amount of production level that should have been expected from me. So it'll level out, it'll average out that I did the same amount of work. But really what's happening, guys, is I'll get depressed and then I feel better. And then I take on so much while I'm feeling good, that it's an immense workload that an average person would not normally have nor succeed in having on their plate. Let's dive into that. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. That's been a huge life lesson of mine that ever since it really hit home for me, I've been like, wow, damn. Just because I can do, let's say, the nitty-gritty math for something at some job, okay? And I mentioned that to someone and they're like, well, you know what? You can do it. Here's a project on it, okay? Just because I can doesn't mean I should, okay? It might have taken me forever to do the math, or it might just eat away at my soul. Like I hate doing it so much. Like I've pushed through, I figured out how to learn it, but I don't really give a shit about it. And it makes me a sad person on the inside. Just because I can do it doesn't mean I should. You know, there have been things that I have, oh God, this is going to sound so pretentious. There are things sometimes I feel like we excel at just because we can push through or we had to figure out how to do it. So you just do it. And just because you end up good at it, it doesn't mean it has to be something you do. You're allowed to do something maybe you're not great at, but if you love it, you get better, you know? So to be honest, I don't really remember where I was going with that, but we're going to try to bridge these thoughts together. Here we are. We're walking on the bridge, guys. On the other side. Yeah. So things I've done. I've started a podcast. I started another podcast. And then I joined a third podcast. And then I started writing a book. And then I joined a writing competition. And then I joined another writing competition. And then I thought about maybe like, oh, I should clean my room. And then I kind of thought about it. And then I also tried to be like the best person that's ever existed at my company. And then I kind of kept doing that. And then I kind of kept like looking at my life and being like, oh my God, I'm still not achieving everything I should in all of these factors. I have been doing like 10 things at once and I need to be 110% at all those things at once. That didn't go well. I got a little burnt out. I ended up getting more frustrated that I wasn't succeeding at any of these things. And this is not to say that it's impossible for me to have these things. I didn't have a healthy way of attacking it. And I also didn't have realistic expectations on how to approach any of the things. And those were just the easy things to throw out. There are so many different facets of my life. I realized that I was just trying to push to make up for lost time. Because if you've ever had a depressive swing and you're either, at work or in school, you have to, while you're okay, start picking up the pieces and putting it together on top of the normal daily work. So already you're having to work double hard, essentially, to just catch up. And it's annoying because you fell behind because your brain said, whoopsie boops, and you just didn't have it in you. And we can have all the lists we want sometimes. I have my methods, my to-do lists, I have my checkpoints, but some days are just shit days, and the checkpoints, you just kind of need to just take a step back or something. So I got behind. I got very behind at one point, and it's just been frustrating because then I get stressed about the work, but I'm stressed because it feels like I did this to myself, which I guess is a fact. Technically, that happened. But the emotional part of it is beating myself up for it when it just is what it is. I'm also trying to roll with that. It just is what it is. That's what it was. Were there ways I probably could have tried to be nicer to myself and healthier so I could be more functional during that depression time? Most certainly. But it didn't happen. And I'm better now. So I realized that. And now I'm trying to get everything back together. So I figured out a plan. We're good now. But it's mostly, all of this is to say we cannot try to make up for what we are lacking in due to mental health disorder. That sentence alone is just like so mean to ourselves, and it's so mean to everyone else. It's a mean thing to say. Like, I would never go up to someone and be like, well, you've got your migraine going on, so you kind of didn't do all this stuff, but like, we all got our stuff done. So if you want to, like, you know, can you try to make up for it and then maybe do a little better, because even that was average? You would never fucking say that. I mean, corporate America is kind of a bitch act. I have no idea. Maybe corporate America has said something, but you know, as human beings with feelings, I would never do that. I don't believe you would ever do that. We would never do that. I definitely have a hard time trying not to do that thing where I try to prove myself. And it's clearly a reflection on how I feel about my productivity and accomplishments if I feel like I have to go so much harder than everyone else. And there is something to be overcome. Like, we do have things we have to overcome. And so we are used to working that muscle to like push through what I'm feeling so I can get this done. Or I've had to be extra reflective on my symptoms and my thoughts and stuff that maybe other people don't have to be as aware of. And because of that, maybe they miss certain patterns. Mine just happen to greatly affect my quality of life. So I'm very aware of them. So there are a lot of things then that I can start picking apart, unfortunately, along with that. And there are a lot of things where I start like keeping score or tally. And I'm just like, it's just stupid. Like, I don't ever want people to think that I'm lazy. I don't want people to think I'm stupid. I don't want people to think that I'm incapable. Oh my God. Realizing that I was really afraid people would think I was incapable was a huge meteor that just shot into my brain. And then I said, ow, that hurts my soul. And then I started singing, and everyone's like, okay, well, you kind of are a lot. And I was like, yeah, I am singing. You're right. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not sorry, though. Never. To be honest, I don't have an answer, and I don't feel like we always need to have an answer. I think it's just really important to be aware of why we're choosing to do what. I think part of it, too, I never think we should all throw everything in one category. I took on a lot of projects, and I go really hard because I want to prove that not only can I keep up, but I can do better. And you would never even notice I was going through something. Maybe admirable in some aspects, probably mostly self-destructive and overall. But I don't have an answer for how to not feel that people are thinking that way about you, or how to find that within yourself. I think, the only thing I can share is just my experience and how I've gotten to where I am now, which, to be clear, is not on the other side. There is no other side. I feel like it's just like a nice little bike ride, and sometimes on your bike ride there are mountains. If you've ever done spin, you're gonna be like, oh, fucking mountains. Yeah, mountains suck. But if you've done we're just on a nice little bike ride in the Irish countryside, oh, that'd be nice. And yeah, so sometimes there's hills, and sometimes there's downhills and valleys and nice little twists and turns, and sometimes you're just coasting and it's nice and the breeze is in your hair, and it's just a beautiful bike analogy that no one's ever heard of before. I'm so original. It hurts. So for me, as a final thought on this, what I'm trying to do is, I think at one point I was trying to say not everything is in one category. Actually, hold on. I'm pulling back that thread, bridging it back, just because I took on all those projects because I think some part of me wanted to prove something wrong. Another part of me just really enjoys doing a lot of different creative things, and I don't want to get holed up in one thing. And so I get so excited about starting another one that I throw all my energy into it, and then I have a really cool idea, and so I start them all. And so it's not well thought out as a whole. I now have 5 projects going on at once thing. It was just more excitement. So again, you can't always throw every thought into one category of what does this mean. There are a lot of different reasons why I did that. And they don't always have to be bad. There doesn't always have to be a bad reason why I've done something that turned out to not be good for me overall. And even then, it's not like I, was losing it or anything. I just was like not happy. And then I realized that was a source of not happiness, was the way I framed my thoughts around these things and how I've organized them. So I think for me, trying to work with this feeling of feeling like I'm behind or I'm incapable because of my mental health disorder, I just always try to go like, okay, the fact is I am making this decision because of my stuff. But I'm doing that because I am happier, and I would rather be happier. And maybe I'm missing out on this version of what it is for like other people. And maybe I could have enjoyed it, but like there's no way to say that would have been my experience and my story. Like ziplining in Costa Rica, like I'd probably do that. But let's say you can't because you're afraid of the flight, or it's a group of people, or there's just some part of it that you feel is like should be something you can get over with. Now, technically sounds cool, but like, let's be honest, it's for your own personal enjoyment. And people will say this in passing, like at dinner, and then they'll put it on their like Bumble profile. Okay, like it's going to be fine. You were such an interesting person. They're really cool other sides of yourself. So that's what I do. I just kind of go like, you know what? Like I am more than just like this one thing that I've had to deal with. Some of them are bigger than others, and that can be a lot to process, but I'm just trying to be here and just be now and just kind of be like, you know what? Yeah, this is what I got to do. And the things that I'm good at, I'm really good at. And those are the things that I protect most. And they tend to be the things that, even though my mental health can kind of thwart my creativity or things like that, like I still come out on the other end, and people naturally have those ebbs and flows anyway. And so kind of in a sense, it's like my ebbs and flows will still follow other people's. And each and every day I learn more and more on how to really coexist and be peaceful with my beautiful brain. And like I'm doing okay, and it's been okay. So, and there's just going to be gross times anyway. And there's going to be amazing times anyway. That's just how it is. So please don't try to pressure yourself to outwardly seem like you have greatly overcome something that no one told you had to go above and beyond just to exist. No one is like, you do not need to prove yourself doubly to just be able to live your life. You should just be able to, okay, this was a setback. Let me put my head down, get it done. Cool. Okay, we're good. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Sick. I dropped my mic, but it's expensive and I don't want to do that. So thank you for listening to this episode of Angus IT. That's Angus like the cow, I like the body part, and tea like the drink. I highly enjoyed talking about this topic because it's been weighing on me and I have a lot of thoughts to say. And if you have any thoughts on it, I'd love to hear from you. You can DM me on Instagram at AngusIT. I also have an email. It's angusit@gmail.com. I hope that what do I wish for you today? I hope that you are able to receive a free trip somewhere and it's really nice and cool and nothing stressful about it. Like someone else has planned the whole thing and it's perfect for you. God, that'd be amazing. So I really wish that for you. I wish that for me. Can we both go on this trip together? Thank you. Oh my gosh. You get to do all the packing though. I hate packing. But with that, I will talk to you next time. Bye, Heifers.